The mold of Latrell Sprewell, phenomenal athleticism, explosiveness, and flashy style of play. A player who always left it all out on the court and was a fan favorite for wearing his emotions on his sleeve. I see him as an old school version of Russell Westbrook.
Oh, I love boy. Russ, my favorite player.
Leaving their blood, sweat, and tears on the court
Russ,
while producing highlight plays that are hard to believe. That's the main reason why Latrell Sprewell, despite all the ups and downs throughout his career, has a special place in the hearts of many fans to this day. So let's check out his story. What up everybody, my name is Stefan and this is the 1992 playoffs to the Seattle Supersonics left a bitter taste in the mouth of Don Nelson's team. A summer of soul searching was awaiting the squad, led by Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway, and Sharunas Marciulionis, who had expected a longer postseason. Little did they know that management would select a gem with the 24th pick in the first round of the draft. In his second season at the University of Alabama, Sprewell had averaged almost 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. Atypical for a rookie on a winning team, Latrell had an immediate impact, though the three most important Warriors, especially Mullin and Marciulionis, missed a lot of games, which opened up playing time and even many scoring opportunities for Sprewell. The fact remains that he made the most of the situation. Starting 69 of the 77 games he played in, his averages of 15.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game gave the Dubs unexpected help, which unfortunately for them failed to result in a playoffs berth. Spree was also solid on defense with 1.5 steals per game. At the end of that season, he was named to the All-Rookie second team. It was in the following season, however, when Sprewell truly announced himself to the league. Though Hardaway and Marciulionis were injured the whole campaign, Sprewell, together with Mullin and Rookie of the Year Chris Webber,
the fuck was that?
were injured the whole campaign. Sprewell, together with Mullin and Rookie of the Year Chris Webber, were the catalysts as the Dubs ended with a 50-32 record. Latrell had a heck of a season, increasing his averages to 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 2 steals per game. Playing and starting all 82 games, he even led the league in minutes per game with 43 per contest. The highlight of his season,
what the fuck?
He even led the league.
Damn. He averaged 2 steals a game? Bro, he's a two-way demon. Now, Latrell was a two-way demon.
In minutes per game with 43 per contest. The highlight of his season was against the New York Knicks. On February 10th, 1994, he exploded for 41 and 6 boards while hitting 3 of 5 from deep and attacking the basket, which is why he shot 12 free throws, hitting 10. The league and those covering it took notice of his phenomenal season, naming him to the first team All-NBA to get a...
He was a first team All-NBA in 1993? With Pippen, Malone, Stoudemire, and Elijah one? I don't think Jordan was there though. That year, nah, Jordan was, I don't know if Jordan was there that year. But bro, nah, hold on. Y'all gotta put some respect on Latrell Sprewell name, because I didn't know. Hold on, bro. I ain't know he was
covering it took notice of his phenomenal season, naming him to the first team All-NBA together with the likes of Scottie Pippen, Karl Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, and John Stockton. This is one of the most underrated and unknown aspects of his career. His flashiness and explosive athleticism are the first things that come to mind when we talk about Latrell, but apart from winning MVP, being first team All-NBA is the highest honor that a player can receive for his play in a season. That's how good he was that year. In fact, you see the great company that he's in. In addition to this, his first All-Star selection that season and being named also to the second team All-Defense were just the cherries on the top.
Second team All-Defense. Oh yeah, he was two-way scraps. He was Stop playing
Warriors fans wanting more. For all their regular season progress, in the postseason, the Dubs were swept in the first round by Charles Barkley's Phoenix Suns. Following the loss to the Suns at an individual level, Sprewell's star continued to shine, at least in the next 3 seasons. Over that stretch, he continued to deliver, averaging 21.3 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5 assists, with 1.5 steals per contest, and another 2 All-Star selections in 95 and 97, acknowledging his efforts. And another 2 All-Star selections in 95 and 97, acknowledging his efforts.
He was
the
cooking shit.
96-97 is in fact the best statistical season of his career, when his scoring rose to as many as 24.2 points per game while his assists average increased to 6.3. That season saw perhaps the best all-around game of his career as well, when on January 21st he torched the Dallas Mavericks for 46 points, 10 assists, 6 boards, and 5 steals. He was even feeling it from deep with 6 3-pointers on 10 attempts. Though as a team, the Dubs continued to struggle, missing out on the playoffs year after year after year. That streak would snap long after the end of Sprewell's time there in 2007. Sadly, his playing days in the Bay Area cannot be discussed without mentioning some incidents, with the last of them making headlines all around the sports world. First, in his second season, Latrell fought teammate Byron Houston despite the weight advantage of the power forward who had 50 pounds on Spree. Then in 1995, Sprewell, after a scrap with another teammate, this time it was Jerome Kersey, returned to practice with a wooden bat in his hands. According to reports, he threatened to return again with a gun. And lastly, on December 1st, 1999, coach PJ Carlissimo yelled at Sprewell to make crisper passes, to which the player responded by saying he wasn't in the mood for criticism. PJ, even though he'd been warned by Spree to keep his distance, approached. What happened next would go down in sports infamy. Latrell first threatened to kill him and then dragged him to the ground by the throat, keeping his hands there 10 to 15 seconds before teammates intervened. As if that wasn't enough, Spree returned to the court around 20 minutes after the incident and punched the coach and was once again dragged away. Commissioner David Stern issued an 82-game suspension.
82 games? They grown man, bro. It's a fist fight. I know it's his coach, man. Damn, was Sprewell tripping? Why he come back and punch him though? He must have been mad, man. Why he come back and punch him? That's crazy.
Which was later reduced to 68 games. That cost Spree around $6.5 million, in addition to his Converse deal. Latrell described the punishment as too harsh, saying he wasn't choking Carlissimo that hard, adding, quote, "I mean, he could breathe." It was safe to say Latrell would never appear in a Warriors uniform again. Then, in January of 1999, after his reinstatement, the Knicks traded for him. In the lockout-shortened season, despite starting just 4 games and averaging 16.5 points, the Madison Square Garden embraced him as one of their own, loving his rebellious nature and emotional approach. The Knicks, thanks in part to his efforts, shocked the basketball world when, as an 8 seed, they made it all the way to the NBA Finals, a run that included a shocker against the number 1 seeded Miami Heat in the first round. A dramatic and fiery series that culminated in the deciding Game 5 at the time, with Allen Houston hitting the game winner. When all the emotions after that series settled, the Knicks then swept the Atlanta Hawks and won in 6 games in the conference finals against Indiana, another series that had a memorable game winner, the Larry Johnson 4-point play. New York would go to the finals, but without their injured star player Patrick Ewing.
He averaged 26 in a game? I mean, per game in the finals? I mean, give me a little trust, Sprewell, man.
It was Spree who was the leading scorer for the team with 26 points per game. In the 5th game, his best one of the finals, Latrell kept his team alive with 35 points and 10 boards, 25 of those points coming in the second half. The Spurs, though, with the twin towers of Tim Duncan, the finals MVP, and David Robinson, with Greg Popovich at the helm, were ultimately too much to handle. Despite the finals loss, however, there was hope in the Big Apple. In the 1999-2000 season, Sprewell played all 82 games, increasing his scoring to 18.5. In the postseason, the 3rd-seeded Knicks swept the Toronto Raptors, setting the stage for yet another showdown with the Heat. This series too came down to the wire, with Jeff Van Gundy's men once again prevailing in the final game of the series, which was played in Florida. But while almost everyone in New York and all Knicks fans were making plans for another finals trip, Reggie Miller, Jalen Rose and company, with Larry Bird as their coach, were plotting their revenge. Revenge is exactly what they would get. The Pacers defeated their rivals, preventing a dream finals for TV broadcasters between the Knicks and the Lakers in 2000. Spree continued to be a fan favorite over the next 3 seasons in a Knicks uniform, averaging 18 points over that stretch and becoming an East All-Star in 2001. But the Knickerbockers would only make the playoffs that same year, where they lost the final game at MSG against a Vince Carter-led Raptors team. Despite the shortcomings when it comes to the postseason, Latrell continued to amaze the Garden. Possibly the best example of that is when he went off for his career-high 49 points against the Boston Celtics in 2002, a game in which he also had 7 rebounds. In the summer of '03, in a move criticized by almost everyone in New York, management decided to pull the plug on the Sprewell experience. But dig deeper, you could at least try to see why they did it. A New York Times article about the trade says Sprewell, quote, often found himself at odds with management and team ownership for his tardiness and unreliability. Ending up in Minnesota, Spree was at least on a playoff team. So when the 2003-2004 season started, the Timberwolves took off, led by the season MVP Kevin Garnett, Sam Cassell, and Sprewell. In his return to the Garden in a Timberwolves uniform in a typical revenge game, Latrell had 31, including a 3 that gave his team a 5-point lead with 1:14 to go. After the 3, he turned to James Dolan, the Knicks owner, and to put it mildly, a stream of curses was the result. In the 04 playoffs, Latrell once again showed what he was capable of, putting up a 34, 7, and 6 in a crucial Game 5 win against the Sacramento Kings to put his team up 3-2. The Wolves had overcome the Denver Nuggets without a lot of problems in the first round. Unfortunately though, for the big tickets, Spree and Sam, they ran into the Lakers, who had added Karl Malone and Gary Payton to an already impressive group that had Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, with Phil Jackson as the head coach. Though Spree averaged almost 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, the Wolves fell in 6. That summer, Spree once again drew the ire of the public when the Wolves offered them a 3-year, $21 million contract before the start of the season. Sprewell, who was due to make $14.5 million in the 04-05 season, labeled it insulting. He said, quote, "Why would I want to help them win a title? They're not doing anything for me. I'm at risk. I have a lot of risk here. I got a family to feed. Anything could happen." That season was a mess for the Wolves. Head coach Flip Saunders was fired. The Sprewell contract situation wasn't helping either. Despite winning 44 games, the team missed the playoffs. In the 05-06 season, many teams were interested in Spree according to some reports, but nothing ever came out of it, partly due to money-related reasons. So Latrell never played in the NBA again. Despite all of this, you'll be wrong if you choose to define Spree as the greedy player that once choked his coach. Make no mistake about it, Latrell was a mercurial talent.
Of course they won't. Of course that's how they want you to look at him, a greedy player who just want money and choice. Of course that's how they want you to look at him, bro. That's how propaganda in the media works.
The leading scorer on a finals team, and for a time, the player who had the Garden on its feet every...
That's crazy, bro. See how they do your legends, bro? See how they do greatness, man? They want to put them in the dirt. I know Latrell was one. I know he was good, but I didn't know he was averaging 20 plus a game and playing defense like that.
How, you know...
Let's take a look.
So we were talking earlier about playing with Spree and how, you know, sometimes he was good at that. He would get to the cup. And sometimes we kind of had to play off of each other and figure out different ways, you know, to do that.
Well, you guys are some different players, and you seem like different personalities too. Like he seemed like so intense. You seemed a little more like cool and you know.
Yeah, I think we complemented each other in that way. I think practices were, you know, our practices were very intense.
Do you ever like get mad at each other in practice?
Oh man, you can't play at this level and you know what I mean, and not get like really intense. You know, we never fought, but. There was a few times when people thought they would have to step in because it gets physical. He's a competitor. You know, when you compete, there's only one way to do it. You know, you can't really go halfway.
Latrell.
Man, but when I played with Spree, man, he was the most athletic two-guard. And this is the time when Jordan had retired, man. And playing with veterans like Spree, Billy Owens, Tim Hardaway. Who else was on the team? A.V. Johnson, Dick Alexander, Mr. Jennings. Who else, Spree?
Hey, man, look, we're going to watch NBA Legends talk about Latrell Sprewell, and we're going to watch highlights. So we're going to also watch highlights. So don't get it. We're definitely watching highlights. But I just want to see other players talking about it because it's hard to find highlights. So I'm like, I've seen this video. So
Victor Alexander.
And like, comment, subscribe if y'all want to see more videos like this, man. Y'all want to see more videos where if y'all want to see more videos where I watch NBA superstars and legends talk about other legends, let me know in the comments. But bro, we also gonna watch the highlights. So.
You know what I'm saying? Man, Spree used to have the fastest cars, man. He used to have like Grand Nationals and stuff. So the first time I ever get to San Francisco, ever.
The Golden State Warriors select Latrell Sprewell from the University of Alabama.
He went to Alabama.
Is this a joke? There is no Latrell Sprewell. We couldn't figure out who he was. He comes into camp, he's Superman. This is like striking gold.
Word?
I think you saw Latrell Sprewell.
He was legit?
When he first made the All-Star team and got a chance to match up with Jordan, and you saw what a great player he was. I remember talking to Michael later, and you know, he'd say to him, "Well, who are the toughest guys you ever had to play against?" And he used to say, well, now Sprewell guards me as well as anybody.
He was lightning quick. Coach used to put him in the game and says, just shut him down. Don't let him catch the ball. Don't let him touch the ball. And Spree was in people's jogs.
The thing that probably makes Sprewell most effective is his energy. He's a three-dimensional player. You know, he's a guy who can break you down. He can shoot the jump shot. You know, he can make passes. He's just real smooth and sleek with his game.
Yeah, Latrell came right before training camp. They released him from Golden State.
Right, because of the choking incident. Did you guys ever speak about that? Like, bro, what were you thinking choking your coach? Like, did you ever have that talk with him?
Nigga, choke me. I understood it. You know, right. I understood somebody feeling that way, but I didn't get into it with Spree about that because he had his reasons behind it. I never get into another man's business about, you know, what happened. All I cared about, man, is are you ready to hoop? And are you prepared? Let's get out there and get the battling.
Nigga menace,
another
man.
man's private business. Well, it wasn't private because everybody knew it.
Everybody knew
but
about it.
I didn't want that to be the focus because he had enough of that coming from the media.
I said, Sam, do you know Sprewell? And I'm like, I do know Sprewell. I called Spree. I said, Spree, man, I'm in Minnesota right now. You should come. A couple hours later, trade done. So you know you got me, Spree, and KG.
I met Sam and Spree at a perfect time in my life. Like, I didn't know Spree before he got to the Knicks, but what I knew was playing against him, how he competed and what he could do. We needed Spree coming here. The New York mentality is Spree mentality. That's what I know. That's exactly what I knew, and I knew you were gonna come here and it was gonna be game busters. Right. I mean, we made it to the finals. That was a 50-game season.
Short season.
Yeah, man. We needed a spark plug, and you was our spark plug, bro.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out definitely. I don't know if you know this, but I told the year, my first contract year, I was up. It was a two-guard year. I was up, Allen was up, and Reggie Miller was up. So the Knicks signed Allen from Detroit. So Allen kind of set the bar for the for two guards that year. Arn Teller was my agent at the time. And they showed no interest in me. So when we played the Knicks, I pulled Pat over. I said, Pat, you tell whoever y'all GM or your manager is, I think that's messed up that y'all didn't even give me a look because I really wanted to come to New York. I love New York. You know, I felt like y'all should have gave me a look. Y'all just went sign Allen without trying to see if I wanted to come in. So now I got a chip on my shoulder. I want to beat the Knicks. I want to go at the Knicks every time I play.
Yeah, as far as basketball goes, he really produces what you want. You know, in the court, he's all out war. But off the court, he's intelligent, articulate, into intellectual pursuits, kind of like chess and computers. So it's a very interesting dichotomy there.
A lot of people just look at
Why the fuck do Chris Broussard look like that? Am I tripping? Or do he just... What?
Very interesting dichotomy there.
A lot of people just look at him with his cornrows and they say, oh, he's a thug, or he's this or he's that. But he's very intelligent. I mean, he's fixed my car. He's a mechanic. If you've been to his house in Oakland, I mean, he has a full-on auto body shop in there.
He takes stereo equipment, VCRs, apart and then puts them back together. You know, the guy was a social work major in college, which a lot of people don't realize. There's a Latrell Sprewell outside of basketball. He just chooses not to let people know that.
A few years ago, at a charity, I purchased the Knicks ball boy, ball girl for a day for my daughter. And Sprewell was the Knick assigned to the ball kid of the day. The way he treated my daughter made me think that perhaps all those bad things that Spree used to do were an act. And that...
What bad things? On a court? Bro, this is competition, bro. Well, he choked his coach. But other than that, man, come on.
This was the genuine Spree.
Damn,
Playing under control,
they thought Spree was gangster.
Man, Sprewell averaged 16 points as New York reached the 1999 NBA Finals. Although the overachievers lost to the Spurs in 5 games, Sprewell had gotten what he always craved: respect.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, his coming out party. He's been waiting since he got here to shine, and he finally got his opportunity, and he took full advantage of it.
Here's Sprewell. Yeah. Whoa. Slam it down with a tomahawk. Sprewell is like lightning.
And he did it with his energy and his skill and his personality. And the team loved him. Marcus Camby and those guys were saying, he's our leader. Imagine that. Now he's their leader. Unbelievable.
Bro, you can't just listen to the outside noise. You listen to the outside noise, they'll think a nigga a killer. And he ain't do nothing to nobody. That nigga say he a killer just because of how he looked, the way he dressed. I mean, that happens a lot. I mean, it ain't really nothing new, but I'm just saying, like, bro, I gotta actually think about people. Like, you don't know these people personally? You don't know, you never been with him personally, talking to him in person, bro. So how do you know what he is and who he is? I gotta stop it. Shh. They make you think all he did in his career was choke the coach. Crazy, bro. Look, man, like, comment, subscribe, man. Let me know in the comments you want me to watch next. Let me see y'all next one, man. No cap.